Bo Gu didn't touch the hangover soup I made again today. He didn't even glance at the still warm white porcelain bowl before heading straight to the bathroom. The sound of running water echoed. I stood by the dining table, fingers unconsciously digging into the table edge. 5 years. No matter how late or drunk Bo Gu was after every social event, he would always finish the hangover soup I made. He once said it was the only thing he wanted to drink when he came home. But this is already the 3rd day in a row. He changed the scent of his shower gel. It used to be crisp cedarwood. Now it's an unfamiliar, cloyingly sweet floral fragrance. It makes me slightly nauseous. The soup's getting cold, I said to the bathroom door. The sound of water stopped. The door opened a crack, and Bo Gu peeked out, his hair still dripping with moisture, carrying a damp, steamy air. Frowning, he spoke with a hint of impatience. How many times do I have to say it? Don't cook anymore. The smell is too strong, it's uncomfortable. The door closed again. I stood rooted to the spot, as if my feet were nailed down. Too strong, unpleasant. This prescription was written for me by his own hand 5 years ago, and he even praised it for being brewed just right. Silently, I picked up that bowl of soup, walked into the kitchen, and poured it down the sink. The brown liquid swirled down the drain. Just like these past 5 years of mine, they too swirled away. Who knows where they've gone? When Bo Gu came out, his hair was half dry, and he was wearing loungewear. He walked straight to the wardrobe and started picking out a tie. Going out? I asked. Yeah, an important private gathering. He didn't even look up, his fingers gliding over a row of ties before finally picking a dark silver one with a diagonal pattern. This tie was a birthday gift I gave him last year. He had never worn it before, saying the color was too dark. I've taken a liking to it today. Is it important? I leaned against the doorframe, watching him deftly tie his tie. In the mirror, his jawline was tightly clenched. He responded vaguely, not looking at me, meticulously adjusting the position of his bow tie in the mirror. With whom? I pressed further. His movements paused for a moment before he finally glanced at me through the mirror. His gaze was indifferent, tinged with a hint of displeasure at being disturbed. Some old friends, you wouldn't know them, he said. Picking up the wristwatch from the table and putting it on. Don't wait up for me tonight, I might be very late. With that, he picked up the suit jacket draped over the back of the chair and strode out. The door clicked shut. The room suddenly felt very empty. I walked to the window and lifted a corner of the curtain. Downstairs, Bo Gu's black car was still there. He leaned against the car, head lowered, fingers tapping rapidly on his phone screen. The corners of his mouth were upturned. I've known Bo Gu for 10 years, and we've been together for 5. He rarely smiles, and even more rarely does he smile like that on his phone. It was a relaxed, somewhat indulgent smile. My heart felt as if it had been twisted hard by something, both sour and swollen. After about 5 minutes, a white sports car glided over and stopped beside him. A woman stepped out from the driver's seat. She had long, wavy hair and wore a beige cashmere coat, her figure slender. The distance was a bit too far for me to see her face clearly, but Bo Gu immediately put away his phone and went to greet her. He opened the passenger door for her, his hand chivalrous shielding the top of the door frame. As the woman got in, she seemed to tilt her head up and smile at him. Bo Gu closed the door and walked around to the driver's seat. The car soon merged into traffic and disappeared from sight. I lowered the curtains, my fingertips icy cold. The woman's beige coat was identical to the one hanging in my closet. Bo Gu brought it back for me from his business trip last week. He said, I saw it and thought it would suit you, so I bought it. It turned out to be perfect for her. I'm just a clothes hanger. I sat on the sofa, with the lights off, in the darkness. Time passed very slowly. My mind is a mess, like it's stuffed with a wad of waterlogged cotton. What did Bo Gu look like when he found me 5 years ago? Disheveled, haggard. With bloodshot eyes, he grabbed my shoulders with terrifying strength, his voice hoarse. Help me, please, help me. He said he's about to give up. He said only I can give him a breather. He said I resemble someone from his memories, very much, especially the eyes. I was foolish back then. I thought it was some kind of fateful connection, a special bond. I believed that through my eyes, he would eventually see the whole of me. Only now do I understand. He just needed a pair of similar eyes to hold his restless longing, a cheap container. The phone vibrated, its screen lighting up with a harsh glare in the darkness. It was a WeChat message from his close friend Lin Miao, a photograph. In the dimly lit corner of a restaurant, Bo Ji-yu sits with a woman. The woman's face is turned slightly, smiling, her eyes curved like crescents. Bo Ji-yu is placing pieces of cut steak onto the plate in front of her, one by one. The movements are meticulous and focused. Lin Miao's voice followed closely, barely containing her anger. Damn, Kira-shan, who is this woman? I was just having dinner with a client, and it felt like running into a ghost, who was sitting across from that bastard Bo Ji-yu. That woman looks like you. She didn't finish her sentence. But the implication was clear. The photo was slightly blurry, but the woman's profile, like an icy needle, pierced straight into my eyes, especially those eyes, clear, bright, with a slight upward tilt at the outer corners, just like me. No, rather, I am just like her. Lin Miao sent another message, sending you the address. Should I rush over and splash red wine in his face? I took a deep breath, the icy air stinging my lungs. My fingers trembled slightly, but my typing remained steady. No need, meow meow. Just keep an eye on them for me. Let me know when they leave. Lin Miao replied instantly. Got it, stay strong. Wait for my update. I zoomed in on that photo. Then zoomed in again. My fingertip traced over Bogu's tender gaze directed at the person across from him. It traced over that woman's smile, both familiar and strange. It felt like there was a hole in my chest, with cold wind howling through it. 5 years, for 5 years, I brewed him hangover soup, ironed his shirts, and memorized all his subtle preferences and taboos. I thought constant dripping wears away the stone, that even the coldest stone would eventually warm. Turns out, the stone was never a stone at all. It's a block of ice, ice that can't be warmed. Only when the true sun appears will it melt. Now, his sun has returned. This shoddy heater of mine should be unplugged already. The phone screen lit up again. It was Lin Miao. Break it up, break it up. That bastard just put her in a car. I got the plate. Last 4 digits 6868. White Porsche. He's heading toward your place. Should be there in half an hour. Got it. Thanks. Meow meow. I put down my phone and walked into the bedroom. The walk-in closet is spacious. My belongings occupy only a small corner. Bo Ji-yu bought me many things expensive, yet lifeless. I opened a storage box tucked deep inside the wardrobe. Inside were the old belongings I'd brought when I first moved in. A few faded t-shirts, a pair of frayed jeans, and a hardcover sketchbook. I took out the sketchbook and brushed off the dust settled on its surface. The first page reveals a sketch of the university building from my college days. The lines still somewhat naive. Following are the library, the tree-lined path, the basketball court. Flipping to the middle, the brushstrokes have noticeably matured. Each and every one is of Bo Ji-yu, Bogu's profile as he works in the study. Bo Ji-yu leans back on the sofa with his eyes closed, resting. Bo Ji-yu frowns while reading documents. Bo Ji-yu, the rarely smiling Bo Ji-yu. The date is marked at the bottom right corner of each page. The earliest one was from 5 years ago. 3 months after he first brought me into this apartment. Back then, he would occasionally allow me to quietly sit beside him and draw. He thought I was sketching still life. Actually, all I drew was him. Later, as he became busier and busier, my sketchbook gradually gathered dust. The old clothes in this box and this notebook are the only things left in this gilded cage that still belong to Kira-shan. I pulled out the sketchbook and placed it in the canvas bag I always carry with me. Nothing else matters anymore. I walk up to the enormous full-length dressing mirror. The reflection shows a woman wearing the silk nightgown Bo Ji-yu loved, with smooth, flowing long hair. Her gentle eyes and brows resemble those of a meticulously kept canary. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, and the person in the mirror forced out a stiff smile. How dull. I turned and walked into the bathroom, turning on the shower. The hot water poured over my head, washing away the lingering traces of that unfamiliar, cloying floral scent, and with it, the docile reflection in the mirror. I washed for a long time. When I came out, my skin was slightly red from scrubbing. I changed into my old, soft-washed t-shirt and jeans. I roughly towel-dried my hair and tied it into a casual ponytail. The person in the mirror had a somewhat vacant gaze, but the long-tamed gentleness between their brows was gone. It was like shedding a heavy shell. Just as they finished changing clothes, the sound of a key turning came from the door. Bo Gu is back. He carried the slight chill of the night breeze, a faint scent of alcohol, and that lingering, cloying floral fragrance. He changed his shoes and walked into the living room, pausing for a moment when he saw me standing at the bedroom door. His gaze swept over my old t-shirt and jeans, and his brows immediately furrowed with obvious disapproval. "Why are you dressed like this?" he said impatiently. "Go change." In the past, just a frown from him would make me nervous, and I would immediately start wondering if I had done something wrong. Now, as I look at his handsome yet indifferent face, I only feel exhaustion. "Bo Gu," I began, my voice slightly hoarse but calm. "Let's talk." He seemed surprised by my tone, pausing for a moment before walking over to the sofa and sitting down, his posture relaxed, with a hint of nonchalance. "About what? It's so late." He tugged at his tie, that dark silver diagonal striped one. "The woman you had dinner with today." I stared at him. "Who is she?" Bo Gu paused in the act of loosening his tie. He looked up at me, his gaze sharpening with scrutiny and displeasure at being probed. "Kira-shan, are you investigating me?" His voice dropped low. It was Lin Miao who happened to see it. I told the truth. "Her name is Jun Shu, right?" Bo Gu's expression completely changed, like a massive rock thrown into a calm lake, stirring up waves, shock, disbelief, and a hint of the awkwardness of having a secret exposed. He abruptly stood up, his tall figure exuding an oppressive aura. "Who told you? Did you investigate her?" Did I even need to investigate? I tugged at the corner of my mouth, wanting to laugh but unable to. "Bo Gu, do I look like a fool to you?" I walked up to him, tilting my head to look at him. 5 years had passed, and this was the first time I had looked directly into his eyes at such close range, without any evasion. 5 years, 1,825 days. I made the hangover soup you specified every day. Even if you came back at 3 in the morning, I knew you only wore shirts from a specific brand, with collars ironed to perfection. I knew you took your coffee with exactly half a sugar cube, at precisely 65 degrees. I know you never allow anyone to touch the files in your study, and the second drawer on the left side of your desk is off limits. I know you hate celery, hate noise, hate rainy days, and hate having your plans disrupted. I know you have an old scar on your lower back from falling out of a tree when you were a child. I know you unconsciously curl up when you sleep, like a child who lacks a sense of security. I spoke in one breath, my pace not fast, but each word felt like a small stone, hurled into the air. Bo Gu's expression grew darker, his gaze complex and inscrutable. There was surprise, irritation, and a hint of barely detectable discomposure. "Enough," he cut me off, his tone sharp. "Kira-shan, what do you mean by saying all this now?" "That means," I took a deep breath, feeling the last remnants of warmth in my chest rapidly fading. "I know a lot about you, Bo Gu, but what about you? Do you know what my favorite food is? Do you know which color I hate the most? Do you know what I majored in at university? Do you know that I paint?" I took a step forward, almost able to feel the chill and the scent of alcohol emanating from him. "You know nothing, Bo Gu. Because you never even thought about trying to understand. All you need are these eyes of mine." I raised my hand and pointed at my own eyes, like Jun Shu's eyes, a cheap, on-call substitute. "Now, the real deal is back." I lowered my hand, feeling my fingertips turn cold. "Shouldn't this counterfeit have the decency to disappear on its own?" Bo Gu's face instantly turned extremely grim, as if the most hidden sore spot had been poked. His jawline was tightly clenched, his gaze dark and menacing as it fixed on me, his chest rising and falling slightly. "Kira-shan," his voice was low, laced with warning, "don't act crazy here. Jun Shu's matter is none of your concern." Me, acting crazy. I couldn't help but let out a laugh, the sound dry and hollow. "Bo Gu, for the past 5 years, I've been dancing around you like a clown, living according to your preferences, trying to mold myself into someone you'd like a soulless puppet on strings. I'm the biggest fool of all. Now I'm awake." I looked into his eyes, which once made me drown but now held nothing but coldness, and said word by word, Bo-Gu, it's over between us." The air was dead silent. Only the second hand on the wall clock was ticking away with a click, click sound. Bo-Gu stared at me intently, his eyes like poisoned daggers, filled with an offended fury, and he seemed to have heard some colossal joke, the corner of his mouth curling into a cold smirk. "Kirashan, who do you think you are? Who do you think you can just summon and dismiss at will?" He took a step forward, casting a massive shadow over me, exuding overwhelming pressure. "It was your own choice to come back with me willingly. I gave you a comfortable life, gave you shelter. Without me, you'd still be eating dust in that shabby studio." He grabbed my wrist with a grip so strong it felt like he wanted to crush the bones. "Now, you think you can just end it like that, just because Junshu is back?" He looked down at me, his eyes filled with undisguised disdain and a desire for control. "Kirashan, know your place. You're just a substitute, a shadow. A shadow should behave like a shadow. You're there when the master needs you. When the master doesn't, you stay quietly in the corner, out of sight." "End," he scoffed, shaking off my hand as if discarding something filthy. "You don't get to say that." My wrist ached from his grip, the bones feeling as though they might shatter, but the pain in my heart was 100 times worse. In his eyes, I didn't even have the right to end the relationship, just an object that could be moved around at will, unworthy of attention. As I looked at his handsome face, now somewhat distorted with anger, it suddenly felt utterly unfamiliar, and utterly ridiculous. 5 years of youth, full of solitary courage, turns out it was truly just wasted on a dog. Position. I rubbed my reddened wrist, the pain keeping me sharp. "Bo-Gu, my position is mine to decide. Starting today, I quit. This job as a stand-in, I'm done with it." I turned and headed straight for the bedroom, wanting only to pack my things and leave this suffocating place immediately. "Stop!" Bo-Gu shouted sharply. I ignored him. He rushed over in a few strides, his tall frame blocking the bedroom door and cutting off my path. "Kirashan, I'm telling you for the last time," he said condescendingly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Stop making a scene. Junshu just got back, and I'm merely fulfilling my duties as a host. It's not as sordid as you think." He paused, as if trying to soften his tone, but his words still came out harsh. "Stay put and behave yourself, and I won't treat you unfairly. This apartment can be transferred to your name. Or, if you want some other form of compensation, as long as it's not excessive, we can discuss it." Compensation, transferring ownership. Does he think this is how you handle a clingy mistress, using money to erase everything? I look at him, at this man I've carefully loved for 5 years, now speaking to me in a tone of charity about compensation. It feels like a cold hand is gripping my heart, then tearing it apart mercilessly. The pain numbs me. "Bo-Gu, I hear my own voice, terrifyingly calm. Do you think I've been with you for your money, for this apartment?" Bogu's eyes flickered for a moment, but he remained silent, yet that look clearly said, "What else?" Indeed, in his mind, what else could someone like me, a mere stand-in, be after, if not money, his meager, charity-like attention, for that occasional warmth he shows when he's in a good mood? How ridiculous. "Fine," I nodded, suddenly not wanting to argue anymore. "Compensation. Right, okay. 5 years of youth compensation, emotional damages, and," I paused, meeting his startled gaze, "the stand-in service fee for these 5 years, at market price." I forced out an extremely unpleasant smile. "With the Gu family's vast wealth, surely you wouldn't shortchange an employee, would you?" Bogu's face instantly turned ashen, as if he had been slapped hard across the face. "Kirashan, you." The veins at his temples bulged in anger. He probably never expected me to counterattack in such a mercenary and sharp manner. "What, does Mr. Gu think my price is too high?" Watching his flustered and furious expression, a twisted sense of satisfaction welled up inside me. Then again, it's just a counterfeit, can't compare to the real thing in value. "How about a discount? Get out." Bo-Gu spat the word through clenched teeth, his eyes dark enough to drip with malice. "Get the hell out of here, now, immediately." He pointed at the door, his chest heaving violently, clearly furious with me. "Leaving is fine." I stood my ground, meeting his murderous gaze head-on. "But what about the money? Does Mr. "GU intend to renege on his debt?" GU glared at me fiercely, as if truly seeing me for the first time. The gentle, quiet, compliant Kirashin was gone. Before him now was a wildcat backed into a corner, baring its fangs. He turned abruptly and strode into the study. Seconds later, he slammed the study door shut with a loud bang. The world fell silent. I stood rooted to the spot, as if all my strength had been drained in an instant. My legs gave way, and I nearly collapsed to my knees. Leaning against the cold wall, I gasped for breath as tears finally spilled uncontrollably, not because of sadness. It was the physiological reaction from being pent up for too long, finally released, exhilarating, yet with a sharp pain. A few minutes later, the study door opened. GU walked out, his face still grim, but he had regained that icy, aloof composure. In his hand was a check. He walked up to me and directly flung the check over. The thin piece of paper fluttered lightly to land at my feet. "Take your money," his voice devoid of any warmth, "and disappear, now." I lowered my head, staring at the check on the ground. The long string of zeros in the amount column stung my eyes. 5 years of love, 5 years of devotion, 5 years of losing myself, finally. "The price is clearly marked." "Not bad." I bent down and picked up that check. The edge of the paper was a bit sharp, making my fingertip ache slightly. I folded it in half, then in half again, and stuffed it into the pocket of my jeans. "Thanks, President GU." I looked up and gave him an impeccably standard, professional fake smile. "Pleasure doing business." Then, I turned and walked into the bedroom, opened the wardrobe, and pulled out that small suitcase. I really didn't have many belongings. A few of my own old clothes, that sketchbook, and some simple skincare products. I didn't touch any of the expensive dresses, bags, or jewelry bought by GU. They don't belong to Kirashin. They only belong to the woman called Junshu Substitute. I hung them up neatly and arranged them properly, as if performing a solemn farewell ceremony. GU stood at the bedroom door the whole time, watching coldly as I packed. His gaze was like ice, or perhaps laced with poison. "Finished packing?" he asked coldly. I zipped up the suitcase, straightened up, and clapped my hands. "Done." I dragged the suitcase and walked up to him. "Excuse me." GU's tall frame blocked the doorway, unmoving. He lowered his gaze, his eyes dark and heavy as they settled on my face, as if scrutinizing an object about to be discarded. "Kirashin." He suddenly spoke, his voice low. "If you leave this place, think carefully about the consequences." "What consequences?" I raised an eyebrow. "What consequences? Is President GU going to blacklist me, make it impossible for me to survive in Yuncheng?" GU didn't speak, but his gaze grew even colder. "Don't worry," I smiled. "Yuncheng is big enough, there's always a corner that can take me in. No need for President GU to trouble himself." Dragging my suitcase, I squeezed past him. The wheels of the suitcase rolled across the polished floor, emitting a faint rumble, like the fanfare of my final departure. I walked to the entryway and changed my shoes. Those pink fluffy slippers were bought by GU on a whim at the airport during one of his business trips. He said, "Looks warm, actually. The size runs small, and it's always been a bit tight on my feet, but I still wore them for 5 years. Now, I can finally take them off." I put on my own pair of canvas shoes, washed to a pale hue, feet firmly on the ground, pulled open the door. The motion sensor light in the hallway outside flickered on in response, its glare somewhat harsh. I dragged my suitcase and took a step forward. Behind me, GU's icy voice came, carrying a final warning. "Kirashin, if you leave, don't regret it. And don't expect me to come looking for you." I paused for a moment in my steps. "No turning back, GU," I said to the empty hallway. "Meeting you is the biggest regret of my life. As for whether you'll come looking for me," I let out a light laugh and dragged my suitcase into the elevator. None of my business. The elevator doors slowly closed, shutting out the icy cage inside, and cutting off my absurd 5 years. The elevator descended. The numbers keep jumping, yet my heartbeat gradually calms down, as if a heavy burden has been lifted. Stepping out of the building entrance, the late-night wind carries a chill, rushing towards my face. I tightened the thin old coat around me and took a deep breath of the free air, a bit cold, but refreshing. The phone rang. It was Lin Miao. Kira, how are you? Are you out yet? Did that bastard give you any trouble? Where are you? I'll be right there. Hearing her anxious and fiery voice, my eyes grew slightly warm. I'm out, meow meow. It's fine, I'm at the entrance of the neighborhood. Wait for me. 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, Lin Miao's little red beetle screeched to a halt in front of me. She jumped out of the car, threw her arms around me, and patted my back hard. Damn it, you're out, you're out. You scared me to death. If that bastard had dared to lay a finger on you, I would have fought him to the death. Her voice was choked with tears, fierce yet full of concern. It's okay now, meow meow. I hugged her back. It's all over. Lin Miao released me, looking me up and down, seeing me in old clothes and dragging a small suitcase. Her eyes grew even redder. Damn it, that bastard. Come on, sis is taking you home. From now on, I've got your back. She snatched my suitcase and stuffed it into the trunk, then pushed me into the passenger seat. The car started and merged into the night. I lean against the car window, watching the neon lights flash by in reverse. The city is so vast, the lights so bright. Surely one of them will belong to me someday, right? Lin Miao curses under his breath while driving. Damn, I checked out that woman, Jun Shu, Bogu's damn white moonlight. They were crazy in love back in college, then for some reason she went abroad and completely vanished. Now she's back, probably heard Bo Jiu made it big and came back to reap the benefits. Bo Jiu is such a dumbass, blind and stupid. Kira, you're a million times prettier than her, and way more classy. That woman reeks of green tea, bitch. So fake, only a dumb dog like Bo Jiu would treasure her. I listened quietly, feeling nothing. Whether Jun Shu is good or bad has nothing to do with me anymore. She and Bo Jiu are childhood sweethearts, a love rekindled, destined to be together, call it whatever you like. I just want to stay as far away from them as possible. Oh, right. Lin Miao suddenly remembered something and turned to look at me. You can stay at my place, don't be polite. It's just sitting empty anyway. I shook my head. No need, meow meow, I don't want to trouble you. I still have some money left. I'll find a short-term rental to settle down first. You think you've got any money? Lin Miao glared at me. That stingy bastard Bo Jiu. How much could he possibly give you? I touched the check in my jeans pocket. It felt stiff. He gave compensation, I muttered. Lin Miao froze for a moment, then grew even angrier. Compensation? He's paying you off with money. Damn it. Meow meow. I cut her off. I deserve this money. These 5 years. Just consider it as me working for him. Now the contract has expired, he's paid the wages in full, and we're even. Not bad. Lin Miao looked at my calm demeanor, opened her mouth as if to say something, but ultimately didn't continue scolding. She just let out a heavy sigh. Alright then. You should find a place to stay first. Take your time looking for a job. No rush. Millimeter him. The car came to a stop in an old residential area that was relatively clean. Lin Miao helped me drag the suitcase and led me into a building with familiar ease. The neighborhood is a bit old, but the location is decent, with convenient transportation and passable security. A friend of mine has a small apartment available, 1 bedroom, 1 living room, fully furnished, ready to move in. I've already negotiated the rent, definitely a friend's discount. She took out the key and opened the door. The apartment wasn't large, about 40 square meters. But it was tidy and had good natural light. Beige curtains and light wood furniture gave it a warm, lived-in feel. How is it? Lin Miao looked at me expectantly. I glanced around and nodded. It's great. Much better than Bogu's cold, empty, showroom-like penthouse. Perfect then. Lin Miao sighed in relief and handed me the keys. Get settled and rest first. I'll come check on you tomorrow. Call me anytime if you need anything. My phone's on the 24th of July. Just say the word. She left in a whirlwind. The house fell completely silent. I closed the door, leaned against it, and slowly slid down to sit on the floor. An overwhelming exhaustion and belated, dull pain finally came crashing down on me like a tidal wave. Tears fell silently, not for Bo Jiu, but for the foolish self who gave 5 years. Only to receive a check in the end. After crying for a while, the heart felt less heavy. I got up, opened the suitcase, and quickly unpacked, placed the sketchbook on the small desk by the window, hung the old clothes in the empty wardrobe, watching those faded old t-shirts reclaim their spot. Some corner of my heart seemed to settle down as well. This is the real Kira Shun, not someone else's shadow. After tidying up, I took a hot shower, lying on an unfamiliar yet my own little bed. Turn off the light. In the darkness, I opened my eyes, staring at the faint shadows on the ceiling. The phone screen lit up briefly in the dark. It was a text message from an unknown number. No signature, just a short sentence. Kira Shun, come back when you're done making a scene. Don't play with fire, it's Bo-Ji-Yu. He still thought I was throwing a tantrum, playing hard to get. I stared at that text message for a few seconds, then calmly pressed the delete button and dragged that number into the blacklist while I was at it. The world is peaceful now. I turned over and buried my face in the quilt that smelled of sunshine, fell into a deep sleep. Days passed by like flipping the pages of a book. The first month after leaving Bo-Ji-Yu, I was like a transplanted plant, struggling to adapt to new soil. The rented small apartment became my safe haven. I started sending out resumes. I majored in visual communication in college and received several good job offers upon graduation, but because of Bogu's words "I need you," I gave them up and stayed contentedly by his side as a soup-making vase. A 5-year gap in employment can be fatal in the job market. Most resumes sent out disappear without a trace. On the rare occasions when interviews do come through, the interviewer's gaze carries a subtle scrutiny upon seeing my work history. Ms. Shun. It seems you have no relevant work experience during these 5 years, Miss Shun. The design industry evolves very quickly, and your gap period is a bit long, Miss Shun. This job requires strong stress resistance and a willingness to work overtime. I was turned down again and again. A sense of defeat would surge over me like a tide from time to time. Lin Miao was so angry she wanted to pull strings, but I stopped her. I want to try relying on myself, I told her. Thanks to the severance pay on Bogu's check, I didn't have to worry about making ends meet for the time being. But I needed work, needed to reconnect with the world. It needs to be proven that Kira Shun can live without Bo-Ji-Yu. I started picking up the paintbrush again. During the day, I went for job interviews. And at night, I spread out drawing paper on my small desk, sketching the street scenes outside my window, the stray cats basking in the sun downstairs, and the old locust tree at the entrance of my hometown from memory. The lines were a bit stiff, but the feeling was slowly coming back. Lin Miao often came to visit me, bringing all sorts of food, chattering away, dispelling the loneliness in the small room. Kira, look at this job posting. A small design studio, hiring an illustration assistant. The requirements aren't high. Want to give it a try? She held her phone up to my face. It was a small studio called Ink. Not very large. Mainly handling cultural and creative illustrations and picture book outsourcing. The requirements were indeed not high, accepting career changes and those with employment gaps, placing more emphasis on portfolio and potential. I sorted out some recent practice drafts and submitted them with a try my luck attitude. Unexpectedly, I received an interview notification the very next day. The studio was tucked away in a renovated creative park in the old city district, with red brick walls and ivy. Exuding a strong artistic vibe, the person who interviewed me was a man in his 30s named Chen Mo, the founder and lead writer of the studio. He wore a simple linen shirt and black-framed glasses. Exuding a gentle demeanor, he carefully flipped through the practice sketches I had brought, examining them with great attention. Kira Shun, he looked up at me. The lines feel good, though a bit unpolished, but the foundation is evident. It's just, the style is a bit too quiet. Pointing to one of the sketches of a stray cat, he said, too realistic, too rigid. For cultural and creative works and picture books, we need a bit more spark, or perhaps vitality. I'm a bit nervous. I'll try to adjust. Chen Mo smiled, putting down the sketches. Don't be nervous, your skills are there. The feeling can be regained. How about this? I'll give you a week to draft a small series on this theme for me to see. He handed me a printed sheet with the theme written on it. Flickers of light in urban corners. No need to make them too polished. Just focus on capturing the feeling. Keep your lines loose, be bold, and draw the light as you see it, he encouraged. Looking at me, I took the paper and nodded vigorously. Okay, thank you, Teacher Chen, stepping out of the studio. The sunlight was a bit dazzling. Clutching the paper with the theme written on it, my heart felt like it held a small flame. There was anticipation, but also nervousness. That week, I was like a man possessed. During the day, I wandered the city with a sketchbook in hand, like a lost soul. The old man selling roasted sweet potatoes at the subway entrance, the flickering flames in his stove, the convenience store clerk working the night shift, dozing off at the counter under the lonely glow of a fluorescent light. In the park, children chase after soap bubbles, the iridescent halos refracting in the sunlight. Deep in the old alley, a grubby little dog wags its tail at strangers. The sky's light reflected in its damp eyes. I capture those subtle glimmers I see and feel on paper, with lines sometimes hasty, sometimes delicate, drawing wildly, utterly absorbed, forgot the time, forgot the hunger, and almost forgot, Bo-Ji-Yu, only in the dead of night. When exhausted from drawing and falling asleep at the desk, those cold, commanding eyes would appear in dreams, then waking up startled, drenched in sweat, gazing at the desolate moonlight outside the window, telling myself, it's all in the past. A week later, I handed Chen Mo a thick stack of drawings. He flipped through them one by one, very slowly. The office was quiet, with only the rustling sound of paper being turned. My heart was in my throat. Finally, he set down the last sketch and looked up at me. His eyes behind the lenses filled with a smile. Kira Shen, he said, welcome to Inkdrop. At that moment, my nose suddenly stung with emotion. I barely managed to hold back the tears. Thank you, Teacher Chen. My voice was slightly choked with emotion. Chen Mo smiled gently. Just call me Chen Mo, we'll be colleagues from now on. Are you coming in tomorrow to complete the onboarding? Yes, I nodded vigorously. Stepping out of the studio, the sunlight was dazzlingly bright. I took out my phone and the first person I called was Lin Miao. Meow meow, I got a job. From the other end of the line came Lin Miao's earth-shattering cheers. I knew my Kira was the best. Hot pot tonight, my treat. We must celebrate. After hanging up, I looked at my reflection on the screen. Her eyes sparkled, with light shining in them once again. Though faint, it was my own light. Life gradually returned to normal. Working at Modian is busy, but fulfilling. Chen Mo is an excellent guide, professional, patient, and without any bossy airs. He started me off as a basic line art assistant, gradually exposing me to different projects. The colleagues are also very easy to get along with, creating a relaxed atmosphere. Like a dried-out sponge, I eagerly absorbed knowledge and regained the professional skills I had lost. The brush has become my new weapon. When sketching lines and filling colors on paper, I can clearly feel that Kira Shen is gradually coming back to life. No longer a vague shadow, but a tangible entity with edges, corners, flesh and blood. After work, I go to the nearby supermarket to buy groceries and learn to cook for myself. The taste varies, but the process is quite fun. On weekends, I'd meet Lin Miao for meals, go shopping, or stay at home painting and reading. Life is simple, yet there's a grounded sense of stability. I never touched that check. It lay quietly at the bottom of the drawer, like a cold tombstone, marking that unbearable past. The name Bo-Ji-Yu seemed to have truly been erased from my life. Until that day, Lin Miao invited me to dine at a newly opened mall. The mall was very upscale, with quite a few luxury stores inside. After we finished eating, Lin Miao dragged me around aimlessly, calling it cultivating aesthetic taste. When we reached the entrance of a jewelry store, Lin Miao was captivated by a strikingly designed necklace in the display window and insisted on going in to take a look. Unable to resist her, I had no choice but to follow her inside. The shop assistant warmly greeted us as we entered. Lin Miao pointed at the necklace and asked about its price. The clerk smiled while introducing it, but her gaze drifted past us toward the entrance, where her face instantly lit up with a more professional yet eager smile. Mr. Ji-Yu, Miss Shu, welcome. Mr. Ji-Yu, Miss Shu. My heart skipped a beat. I instinctively turned around. At the entrance, Bo-Ji-Yu and Jun Shu were walking in together. Bo-Ji-Yu was dressed in a meticulously tailored dark gray suit. His tall and straight figure still the most striking presence in the crowd. He tilted his head slightly, listening to Jun Shu beside him, with an expression of focus and tenderness I had never seen before. Junshu wore a beige dress, her long hair elegantly tied up, revealing her graceful swan-like neck. She carried a limited edition handbag, her smile gentle and radiant. The two stood together, a perfect match of talent and beauty, an unparalleled pair, as if sensing my gaze. Bo Ji-yu also looked up, our eyes met, across the bright lights and dazzling jewels. His gaze instantly turned sharp, icy, with a hint of something barely perceptible, surprise. Junshu also followed his gaze and looked over. When she saw me, she was momentarily stunned. Then a flash of understanding quickly passed through her eyes, along with a hint of condescending scrutiny. Her gaze swept over my cheap t-shirt and canvas bag, and the corners of her lips curled into a faint yet unmistakable smirk. As if she had seen something utterly beneath her, Lin Miao also spotted them and immediately bristled like a cat with its fur standing on end. She grabbed my arm, pulling me slightly behind her, and glared back fearlessly. "Kira, let's go." She tugged at me, ready to leave. "Meow meow," I gently held her back. "We haven't looked at the necklace yet." I turned around, no longer glancing at the perfect couple by the door, and spoke calmly to the salesperson from earlier. "Excuse me. Could you please take out that necklace we were looking at for my friend to try on?" The shop assistant froze for a moment, looking at me, then at Bo Ji-yu and Junshu, whose expressions had visibly darkened at the entrance, clearly at a loss. "Kira-shun." Bo-gu's voice rang out, cold, with his usual commanding tone. He strode over in a few steps, his tall figure casting an invisible sense of oppression. Junshu followed by his side, graceful as a white swan. "Something wrong?" I didn't turn around, my gaze still fixed on the necklace in the glass display case. Bo Ji-yu came to stand beside me. I could smell the crisp cedar scent on him, mingled with Junshu's cloyingly sweet floral perfume. It was nauseating. "What are you doing here?" His voice was low, carrying a tone of interrogation. Lin Miao couldn't hold back anymore and retorted sharply. "Since when do you care so much, Manager Ji-yu? Is this mall yours? We can go wherever we please." Bo Ji-yu ignored Lin Miao. His gaze fixed heavily on me, filled with scrutiny. "Did you find a job?" he suddenly asked. I'm a bit surprised. How did he actually know? "Thanks to President Gu's help, we found it," I said in a flat tone. "Where?" he pressed. "A small studio," I replied vaguely, not wanting to reveal too much. "Hair." He let out an ambiguous chuckle, his gaze sweeping over my simple attire. "Seems like the salary isn't high." The condescension and mockery in his tone were undisguised. As if ridiculing my overestimation of myself, mocking that after leaving him, I could only live this kind of cheap life. Junshu gently tugged at Bo-gu's sleeve, her voice soft and gentle. "Bo, don't be like this." She looked at me and gave a proper yet distant smile. "Miss Shun, right? Hello, I'm Junshu." She extended her hand. Her nails were neatly trimmed and polished with a delicate pink pearl finish. I didn't move, just looking at her, at this face that somewhat resembles mine, yet is more delicate and superior, watching the well-concealed sense of superiority and Victor's pity in her eyes. "Hello," I nodded, as a form of greeting. Junshu's hand awkwardly froze mid-air. Bo-gu's brows immediately furrowed, his gaze turning even colder. "Kira-shun, where are your manners?" "Manners?" I met his icy stare and suddenly laughed. "Mr. Ji-yu, what manners do you still expect from a former employee who's already taken severance pay, payment for services rendered, debt settled? Isn't that the rule you established?" Bo-gu's expression instantly turned extremely unpleasant. Junshu's expression also changed slightly, as if she hadn't expected me to be so direct. She withdrew her hand, the smile on her face fading slightly, her tone carrying a hint of perfectly measured grievance and confusion. "Bo, what severance pay? What are you guys talking about?" Bo Ji-yu didn't answer her, just stared at me, his gaze frighteningly dark. "Kira-shun, do you really have to make a scene here?" "Making a scene?" I shook my head, finding it utterly absurd. "Mr. Ji-yu, you were the one who initiated the conversation. We were just passing by and came in to look at the necklaces." I pointed to the counter. "Now that we've seen them, we won't disturb you two any further." I took Lin Miao's hand. "Meow meow, let's go." "Wait." Junshu suddenly spoke up. She walked up to the counter, pointed at the necklace Lin Miao had just been eyeing, and said to the clerk, "This one, please wrap it up." The clerk immediately beamed with joy. "Right away, Miss Xu." Jun Xu took out her card and handed it to the clerk with graceful poise. Then, she picked up the delicate little box and walked over to me, with an impeccable gentle smile on her face. "Miss Shen, it's our first meeting. Just a small gift, nothing to show my respect." She handed the box to me. Lin Miao's face turned red with anger. "Who wants your stuff? So fake." I looked at the box. Then at Jun Xu's face with its hypocritical smile. What is she doing? Showing off, charity, or helping Bo Jiyu get rid of this trouble? Me, "You're too kind, Miss Xu, I didn't accept it." My tone calm. One shouldn't accept rewards without merit. Something this valuable is beyond my worth. I deliberately emphasized the words "beyond my worth." Jun Xu's smile froze for a moment. Bo Gu's face had already darkened like the bottom of a pot. "Kira-shan," he growled, his voice laced with suppressed fury. "Does Mr. Jiyu have something else to say?" I looked at him. Bo Jiyu stared at me intently, as if trying to find some trace of the past in my face. But all that showed on my face was calm and detachment. This seems to have angered him. "You've changed," he said through gritted teeth, enunciating each word. "Have I?" I curled my lips slightly. "That's good. One can't remain a fool forever." I grabbed the indignant Lin Miao and turned to leave, without another glance at the two piercing stares burning into my back. Stepping out of the mall, the sunlight was blinding. Lin Miao was still fuming and cursing. Damn it, that despicable couple. I'm so pissed, especially that Jun Xu, acting all magnanimous, playing the innocent White Lotus, so disgusting. I patted her hand. "All right, Miao Miao, don't be angry, it's not worth it for someone irrelevant. I just can't stand it." Lin Miao stomped her foot. "Did you see how she acted just now? Clearly showing off, trying to disgust you." "I know," I smiled. "That's exactly why we can't let her succeed. What she has now is nothing but the trash I discarded. What's there to show off?" Lin Miao looked at me, paused for a moment, then hugged me tightly. "Right, Kira, well said. Trash belongs in the trash can. We don't care for it." I hugged her back. The ripples in my heart caused by the unexpected encounter gradually subsided. Bo Jiyu and Jun Xu are ultimately just a page turned in my life. Not worth wasting any more emotions on. However, I underestimated some people's persistence. A few days later, an unfamiliar number called my work phone. I thought it was a client. So I picked up. "Hello." There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then came a deep, familiar voice that instantly made my spine stiffen. "Kira-shan, it's Bo Jiyu. How did he get my work number?" I instinctively wanted to hang up. "Don't hang up." He seemed to guess my intention, his tone carrying a hint of urgency. "I'm downstairs at your studio." My heart tightened. What is he here for? Something wrong? My voice turned cold. "Come down, we need to talk." That same commanding tone. Leaving no room for refusal. "Mr. Jiyu, it's working hours. Besides, I don't think we have anything to discuss." I was about to hang up. "Kira-shan," his voice lowered, carrying suppressed anger. "Don't force me to come up there." I tightened my grip on the phone. With Bo Gu's temper, he's really capable of doing it. "I don't want to make a scene at the studio." "Wait." I spat out coldly before hanging up the phone. I said goodbye to Chen Mo, telling him I was going downstairs to pick up a package. Chen Mo was sketching and responded with a nonchalant hum without looking up. Stepping out of the office building, sure enough, Bo Gu's eye-catching black car was parked by the roadside. The car window rolled down, revealing his expressionless profile. I walked over but didn't get in the car, just stood by the window. "What does Mr. Jiyu want with me?" "I'm very busy." Bo Jiyu turned his head and looked at me with a heavy gaze. After not seeing him for a few days, he looked somewhat exhausted. With faint dark circles under his eyes. "Get in the car," he commanded. "No need, we can talk right here." I stood still without moving. Bo Gu's brows furrowed, a flash of irritation passing through his eyes. "Kira-shan, must you speak to me with this attitude? What attitude does Director Jiyu expect from me?" I retorted, deferential, grateful. "You." Bo Jiyu seemed to choke for a moment, taking a deep breath as if struggling to contain himself. He picked up a thick manila envelope from the passenger seat and handed it out through the car window. Take it. What? I didn't accept it. The house, he said succinctly. The transfer procedures are done. The keys are inside. I froze. That apartment, he really transferred it to me. I told you, I don't need it. I took a step back, as if the document folder was burning my hands. Kira-shun. Bogu's voice suddenly rose, carrying unmistakable anger. Don't be ungrateful. Take it and find a safe place to live. Look at where you're staying now. Is that run-down neighborhood even safe? So he's investigated me. He even knows where I live. A chill ran up from the soles of my feet. Where I live and whether it's safe is none of Mr. Gu's concern. I stared at him. That apartment was the settlement fee you gave to the stand-in. Now that the stand-in has quit, the apartment should naturally be taken back. Or, I curled my lips, is Mr. Gu's white moonlight uncomfortable there? Does she need my apartment to make space? Kira-shun. Bo-Gu abruptly pushed the car door open, his tall frame looming over me with an intimidating presence. His face was livid, his eyes looking as if they could devour someone. Do you have to talk to me like this? Does every word have to be so sharp? Every word sharp? I looked up at him without backing down. Bo-Gu, you're the one who barged into my life. You're the one who came to my workplace with that house I don't even care about, trying to play the benefactor. You're the one disturbing me, benefactor. Bo-Gu seemed stung by the word. He grabbed my wrist with a grip so strong it was almost painful. Kira-shun, do you really think I owe you something? My wrist ached from his tight grip. I struggled with all my might to break free, but couldn't escape. Let me go, I growled under my breath. Let go. Bogu's eyes churned with intense emotions I couldn't decipher: anger, resentment, and a hint of hurt. Kira-shun, haven't I treated you well these past 5 years? What haven't I given you that you wanted? Who are you putting on this holier-than-thou act for now? Carrying a checkbook, living in a rundown house, working a job that could vanish any day. Is this the life you wanted? So this is the freedom you left me for? His rapid-fire questioning carried a betrayed fury. I looked at his handsome face, now twisted with anger and so close to mine, and suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of absurdity. Bo-Gu, my voice was as cold as ice. For these 5 years, was what you gave what Kira-shun wanted? What you gave was what Junshu wanted. I'm just a container, a vessel for you to hold your longing for her. Now that the real one has returned, the container should be cleaned out and not be an eyesore. I left as you wished, cleaned out completely. Why are you coming back now? What do you want? Is it because the container is too clean that you're not used to it? Or, I looked at the turbulent emotions in his eyes and asked word by word, have you discovered that this container of mine seems less obedient, less easy to control? So, you're unhappy? Bogu's grip on my hand suddenly stiffened. He seemed to be struck hard by my words, his pupils contracting sharply. The fury surging in his eyes was instantly replaced by a more complex emotion: shock, astonishment, and a hint of discomfiture. He stared at me intently, his lips pressed into a sharp, straight line. Yet the grip on my wrist unconsciously loosened slightly. Mr. Gu. I seized the moment to forcefully shake off his grip, rubbing my reddened wrist. Let bygones be bygones. We're even now. From now on, let's be strangers. Don't look for me again. After speaking, I didn't wait to see his expression and turned to walk briskly back into the office building. My steps were somewhat unsteady, but my back remained straight. I entered the elevator and pressed the button for my floor. As the elevator doors closed, I seemed to see Bo-Gu still standing there, motionless, like a frozen statue. The elevator ascends. I lean against the cold wall of the cabin, gasping for air. My heart pounds wildly in my chest. The earlier show of toughness and composure has nearly drained all my strength. Bogu's final gaze. It was as if something had cracked a fissure in the meticulously constructed icy world he had built, but it no longer concerns me. Life moves on. Bo-Gu never appeared again. Later, he had someone deliver the keys to that apartment to the security room of the residential area where I was renting. I asked the security guard to simply throw them away. The check also remained quietly lying in the drawer. I'm gradually getting the hang of my work at Modian. Chen Mo started letting me independently handle illustrations for some small projects. Although the pay isn't much, every penny is earned by my own efforts, solid and steady. Lin Miao remains my most steadfast support, regularly bringing delicious food to feed me. Life is peaceful, fulfilling, and full of hope. I thought everything about Bo Jiu was finally completely behind me, until that afternoon. I'm in the studio rushing to finish the line art for a picture book. My phone rings. It's an unfamiliar local number. Thinking it might be a delivery, I answered the call. Hello. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then came the voice of an unfamiliar woman, soft and gentle, yet carrying a tone of condescending politeness. Miss Kirashan. I am. Who is this? I'm Jun Shu. The other person softly uttered 3 words. Jun Shu, what does she want with me? My fingers holding the paintbrush tightened slightly. Miss Shu, is there something you need? Miss Shen, would you be free to meet? Jun Shu's voice remained gentle, yet carried an undeniable insistence. At the Clouds Cafe near your studio. I'll be waiting. I think there are some matters we need to discuss in person. About Bo. It's Bo Jiu again. A wave of irritation surged in my heart. Miss Shu, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Whatever is between you and President Jiu has nothing to do with me. Is that so? Jun Shu let out a light laugh, the sound like a feather brushing past yet carrying a sting. Miss Shen, do you really think taking Bo's money and leaving him means you can truly settle the score? Men, sometimes they're just shameless. What you can't have always stirs desire, while those who are favored take it for granted. She paused, her tone laced with a hint of amusement. Bo seems to be paying a bit too much attention to a certain past tense lately. So, I asked coldly, so, for everyone's sake, I think we need to talk. Jun Shu's voice turned icy. Miss Shen, you're a smart person. Some troubles are better resolved early for everyone's benefit, don't you think? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Clouds Cafe. I'll wait for you for half an hour. Time waits for no one. With that, she hung up the phone directly, listening to the busy tone on the line. I gripped my phone tightly, my knuckles turning white. Lin Miao was right. This woman is indeed not one to be trifled with. Is she here to declare war, or to issue a warning? I stared at the half-finished line drawing. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting dappled shadows on the drawing paper. The indigo blue pigment on the tip of the brush condensed into a deep, shimmering point of light under the sun. 3 in the afternoon, Cloudscape Cafe. In the end, I went, not afraid of her. Just find it annoying, like being buzzed around by a fly if you don't swat it. There's no peace. I'm curious to see what kind of act this white moonlight is trying to pull. The cafe has a quiet and serene atmosphere with few people. Jun Shu is seated by the window and has already ordered her coffee. She is wearing a lotus pink silk blouse today, which complements her fair complexion and gentle demeanor. Upon seeing me enter, she smiles and raises her hand in greeting. I walked over and sat down across from her. Ms. Shen is very punctual. She pushed a cup toward me. Americano. I don't know if it suits your taste, thank you. But no, I didn't touch the coffee. Jun Shu didn't mind either, picking up her own latte and taking an elegant sip. Miss Shen looks even more. She paused, as if searching for the right word, more aloof than in the photos. Miss Shu, you didn't ask me here just to comment on my appearance, did you? I got straight to the point. Jun Shu set down her coffee cup, her smile fading slightly as her gaze sharpened. Miss Shen gets straight to the point, so I won't beat around the bush either. She leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice. I want you to leave Cloud City. I froze, thinking she must have misheard. What? I said. Jun Shu repeated clearly, her gaze carrying a cold certainty. I want you to leave Cloud City. Go live in another city. The farther, the better. I looked at her perfectly made-up face and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. Why? Because of your presence. Bo gets distracted, Jun Shu said bluntly, her tone carrying a hint of barely concealed resentment. He's been in a terrible state lately, neglecting company matters and constantly zoning out. She stared at me. Kirashan, you've been by his side for 5 years, so you should know him well. He's not someone easily swayed by external factors. Unless it's me. I finished for her, feeling even more absurd. Miss Shu, aren't you overestimating me? It's clear to you whether it's you or not. Junshu said coldly. Kira-san, we're all adults. Some things don't need to be spelled out. If you took the money, you should have disappeared completely. Instead of flitting in and out of his sight like this, using your pretentious airs to catch his attention. I didn't. I cut her off, my temper flaring. Miss Shu, get this straight. He was the one who came to my studio. He's the one who won't leave me alone. I'm not the one clinging to him. Flies don't bite a seamless egg. Junshu's voice also turned sharp, tearing through that gentle facade. Kira-san, if you really wanted to cut ties cleanly, why are you still in Cloud City? Why do you keep showing up where he can see you? You're doing this on purpose. You're playing hard to get. You want him to keep thinking about you. You're trying to ruin things between me and Bo. Her accusations struck at the heart with every word. I looked at her face, slightly flushed with agitation, and at those eyes, so similar to mine yet now filled with jealousy and venom. Suddenly, I realized she wasn't quite the white moonlight I had imagined. Instead, she seemed more like a pitiful, tragic woman blinded by jealousy. Junshu, I said calmly, staring at her, what are you afraid of? Junshu paled as if struck where it hurt most. Afraid? What do I have to fear? Bo and I grew up together. The bond between us is something you could never compare to. Is that so? I chuckled softly. Then why are you so flustered? Are you afraid Bo Jiu won't forget me? Are you afraid he'll realize that this substitute of his isn't so bad after all? Are you afraid of his comparison? Or, I paused, my gaze sweeping over her hands gripping the coffee cup so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Are you afraid that you might not be as important as you thought? Shut up. Junshu stood up abruptly, her voice sharp, drawing the attention of nearby tables. Realizing her outburst, she took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing her anger, and sat back down. Her gaze was just colder and more venomous. Kira-san, empty words won't help you. She took a check from her exquisite bag and pushed it toward me. Another check. The amount on it had one more zero than the one Bo Jiu had given me. Take it. Her tone carried both condescension and command. Leave Cloud City, never come back. I stared at that thin piece of paper, then looked at Junshu's face, which was filled with the message you must disappear. Suddenly, it all felt incredibly ironic. Bo Jiu used money to buy out my past. Junshu used money to buy out my future. In their eyes, my life, Kira-san, seems to be worth only these two pieces of paper. I picked up that check, a triumphant smile curled at the corner of Junshu's lips. Then, right in front of her, I slowly and deliberately tore the check in half, then into quarters, then eighths. The fragments fluttered down like snowflakes, scattering across the table between us. Junshu's smile froze instantly, turning into shock and anger. Kira-san, you, Miss Shu. I stood up, looking down at her. I'll walk my own path. I'm staying in Cloud City for now. As for Bo Jiu, I leaned down, moving close to her, and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear, enunciating each word clearly. Since you treasure that trash so much, you'd better guard it well. Don't let him escape again and pollute the environment. After saying that, I didn't look at her instantly livid and twisted face anymore, turned around, and strode away, pushed open the door of the cafe. Outside, the sunlight was just right. I took a deep breath, leaving behind the lingering sweet floral scent and suffocating air of the cafe completely. My phone vibrated once. It was a message from Chen Mo. Finished the line art yet? The client is pushing for it. Smiley face. I look at the screen, my lips curling into an involuntary smile. This is truly my life, with work, friends, and anticipation. I quickly type my reply. I'll get it done right away, sending it to you in 10 minutes. Putting away my phone, I quickly walked toward the studio. My steps were light and full of energy. Behind me in the cafe, that hysterical woman and her persistent man. Go to hell. Time is the fairest sieve. It sifts out falsehoods and leaves behind sincerity. It filters out restlessness and settles calm composure. The days at Modian's studio were like pigments soaking in warm water, gradually spreading and settling into colors uniquely my own. Chenmo said my painting style had changed. It was no longer the overly rigid realism of before. The lines became bold, relaxed, and began to breathe with life. The colors are no longer confined to dull, grayish tones. Instead, they begin to experiment with bright and vibrant combinations. He said the paintings now had life in them, like a plant that, after being transplanted, finally finds the right soil and begins to stretch out its branches and leaves. The illustration projects I was responsible for started as small-scale experiments but gradually led to more substantial collaborations. The numbers on the royalty statement gradually became more impressive. Though still far from wealthy, every penny I earned allowed me to sleep with exceptional peace of mind. Using the money I had saved, I moved out of Lin Miao's friend's apartment and rented a slightly larger place in the same neighborhood. It was a one-bedroom, one living room unit with a small balcony. I have a few pots of pothos and succulents on the balcony. They're incredibly resilient and bring so much life to the small space. I bought a larger easel and placed it by the window where the light is best. In my free time, I sit in front of the easel and paint whatever I feel like. I paint the aunties dancing in the square downstairs at the park, depict the middle-aged man on the subway, weary yet gripping the handrail tightly. Paint the warm glow emanating from the convenience store in the dead of night. Paint myself, that Kira-shan, whose gaze no longer shies away, with a hint of stubbornness between her brows. Lin Miao still comes over often to mooch meals, progressing from her initial scathing critiques of my cooking skills to later calling it barely edible, and now saying, "You're improving, Kira, you're really living the good life." She sprawled on my newly bought beanbag chair, nibbling on the slightly charred chicken wings I'd baked. TSK, though these wings, maybe lower the heat next time. Can't even a free meal shut you up? I rolled my eyes at her and handed over the freshly grilled vegetable skewers. Hihi. She took them, took a bite, and mumbled with her mouth full, "Seriously though, Kira, seeing you like this now makes me really happy for you." She put down the skewers and looked at me with rare seriousness. "Back when you were with Boji you were like, well, a delicate mannequin, pretty to look at, but lifeless. Now, you're so much better, full of life and color." I smiled without saying a word. Instead, I picked up a pencil and casually sketched her current wild, clawing pose as she gnawed on a chicken wing. "Hey, no drawing ugly pictures of me." Lin Miao lunged to snatch it away. The two of them laughed and tussled together. Outside the window, the afterglow of the setting sun dyed half the sky red. The days were as calm as a still lake, until a stone was thrown in, completely unexpected. That day, I received a call from an unknown number. The person on the other end claimed to be a staff member from the organizing committee of the Cloud City Youth Art Support Program. They said my work, the Glimmer series, the sketches of urban corners I had drawn during the interview, had been nominated for this year's Emerging Potential Award and invited me to attend the award ceremony. I held my phone, stunned for a long moment. Glimmer series. That was a set of illustrations I created by reorganizing and refining the small drafts I drew during my interview after joining Modian. Chen Mo thought they were good and encouraged me to submit them to a few small competitions. I had no expectations at all, it was purely for practice. I actually got shortlisted. "Miss Shen, are you still there?" the voice on the phone asked. Yes, I snapped back to reality, my heart pounding. "Thank you, I'll be there on time." After hanging up, I still felt a bit dazed. I immediately shared the news with Chen Mo and Lin Miao. Chen Mo laughed heartily on the phone. "I knew you had it in you. This competition has solid prestige. Prepare well. The studio will cover your outfit expenses." Lin Miao screamed on the phone for a full minute, then excitedly declared she would take me shopping for a battle outfit. The award ceremony is on the weekend evening. The location is the Yuncheng Art Center. I'm actually a bit nervous. This kind of occasion feels so distant from my life over the past 5 years, yet somehow a little closer to the dreams I had during my student days. Lin Miao picked out a simple black spaghetti strap maxi dress for me, its clean lines accentuating a slender silhouette, understated luxury with depth, perfect. Lin Miao circled around me, snapped her fingers, and said, "Paired with your cool and elegant vibe, it's absolutely stunning. Guaranteed to outshine everyone else. It's not a beauty pageant." I laughed, amused by her. "Don't lose the momentum." Lin Miao cheered me on. "Remember, you're there to receive an award, not to be a backdrop." Entering the grand hall of the art center, the dazzling chandeliers, the elegant crowd, and the soft murmurs of conversation filled the air. The air is filled with the scent of champagne and art. I clenched my palm, slightly sweaty, found my seat and sat down, waiting quietly. The award ceremony proceeded smoothly. The host read out the nominees for the emerging potential award, and my name was among them. Clips from the nominated works began playing on the big screen. When scenes from the Glimmer series appeared on the massive screen, I heard a few quiet murmurs of admiration from those around me. On the screen, the ordinary people and objects in the corners of the city were imbued with a quiet yet resilient vitality, rendered in tones that ranged from warm to cool. Finally, when the award presenter announced the winner, Kira Shin, the spotlight instantly shone on me. Applause erupted. I stood up, my heart pounding so hard in my chest it felt like it might leap out. The steps leading up to the stage were a bit high, and I walked carefully, holding up the hem of my dress. I received the small yet weighty trophy from the award presenter, a highly respected veteran artist. "Congratulations, Kira Shin," the elderly artist said with a kind smile. "There is light in your paintings." "Thank you, teacher." I bowed deeply. Step up to the microphone. Below is a sea of dark figures and flickering lights. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Thank you to the organizing committee, and thank you to the judges for your recognition." The series Glimmer was born during a rather uncertain period of my life. I wandered through the corners of the city, trying to find a glimmer of light, and also myself. Fortunately, I found it. Painting is my way of conversing with this world. This trophy is an encouragement to me. I will continue to paint, to capture the light in ordinary corners, to depict those small yet resilient lives. Thank you, everyone. The applause rose again, even more fervent than before. I bowed and stepped off the stage. My steps were light, but my heart was steady. Back at my seat, Lin Miao excitedly grabbed my hand. "Kira, you were amazing. That was such a great speech." I held the small trophy in my hand, the cool metal pressing against my palm, like a tiny anchor point, marking the moment. My life has finally sailed away from the reef named Boji. After the ceremony came a relaxed cocktail reception. Many came to congratulate me and exchange business cards. I struggled to keep up, maintaining a proper smile on my face. Lin Miao was also pulled away by a few acquaintances. Holding a glass of champagne, I walked to the relatively quiet terrace for some fresh air. The night breeze carried a slight chill of early summer. The terrace was spacious, and there seemed to be someone at the other end. I didn't mean to disturb, so I walked to the railing and gazed at the dazzling city lights in the distance. "Congratulations," a deep, familiar male voice suddenly sounded behind me without warning. My back stiffened instantly. It felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. Slowly, I turned around. Boji stood just a few steps away, dressed in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. His posture was upright, still the most dazzling presence in the crowd, but under the light, he looked somewhat thinner, with a trace of lingering weariness between his brows. He held a glass of wine in his hand, gazing at me with a heavy, inscrutable look in his eyes. Shock, inquiry, or perhaps a hint of indescribable loneliness. "Thank you," I heard my own voice, calm and unruffled. "Treat him like an ordinary stranger you've only met once." Boji didn't seem to expect me to be so calm. He took 2 steps forward, closing the distance between us. The familiar, crisp scent of cedarwood mixed with a faint hint of alcohol drifted over in the night breeze. "Your painting," he began, his voice slightly hoarse, "is very good. Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Gu." I nodded slightly, polite yet distant. Bogu's brows furrowed, as if unaccustomed to my attitude. "You've changed," he said, staring at me as if searching for some flaw in my expression. "People always change." I met his gaze, calm and composed. "Kira Shin." His Adam's apple bobbed slightly, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know where to begin. His eyes fell on the trophy in my hand, then shifted to the simple yet elegant black dress that accentuated my cool demeanor. "Are you doing well now?" he finally managed to ask. In his tone, there was a hint of cautiousness that even he himself hadn't noticed. "Very well," I replied briskly. "Work is going smoothly, friends are good, life is fulfilling, and Mr. Gu," I countered, with polite formality, UNMS. Shu must be nearing your happy event. At the mention of Jun Shu, Bo Gu's eyes instantly darkened. He pressed his lips together and remained silent. The atmosphere grew somewhat tense. The night breeze rustled my skirt. If there's nothing else, President GU, I'll take my leave now. I raised my glass slightly toward him and prepared to depart. Kira Shin, he suddenly called out to me. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. Bo Gu stared at me, his eyes brimming with intense emotions. As if something was about to burst forth. That apartment, he began with difficulty, has always been kept for you. The key is still in the usual place. I looked at him and suddenly felt a pang of sadness. Even now, does he still think a house is what would move me? Mr. Gu, I shook my head gently. That house doesn't belong to me. It only belonged to the fool from the past named Kirashin. The current Kirashin doesn't need it anymore. And that check, I added. I didn't touch it either. Bo Gu, for the first and last time, I calmly called his name. Between us, everything was settled long ago. Money, possessions, emotions, all settled. From now on, let's each go our own way in peace. With that, I didn't wait to see his reaction. Turning around, I walked into the brightly lit hall. The man standing in the shadows of the terrace was left completely behind. Behind, there seemed to be the crisp sound of a glass shattering. I didn't look back. Days continued to flow forward, like a calm and steadfast river. At Ink Spot Studio, I gradually became an illustrator capable of handling projects independently. I developed my own signature works and built a stable network of collaborators. Chen Mo started assigning me to mentor newcomers. The timid intern girl who called me Sister Kira Shun reminded me of myself when I first arrived. Life remains busy yet fulfilling, painting, reading, and exploring little eateries in the city's corners with Lin Miao. Occasionally, thoughts of Bo Gu still surface, like a distant, faded symbol. No hate, no love, it's just, in the past, Lin Miao told me that Bo Gu and Jun Shu apparently didn't get married. Rumor has it things ended rather unpleasantly, and Jun Shu seems to have gone abroad again. I heard it and just said, oh, it's none of my business. The large check at the bottom of the drawer was found by me on an ordinary weekend. I took it to the bank and donated it to a public welfare project for children's art education in a remote mountainous area. The staff asked for my name. I said, anonymous. Watching that piece of paper, burdened with an unbearable past, eventually turn into a string of cold numbers, flowing into the distance. The last knot in my heart finally unraveled. Another late night of overtime work. I finished the last piece of writing and turned off the computer, walked out of the office building. The night wind in late autumn carried a biting chill. I tightened my coat and headed toward the subway station. Passing by the 24-hour convenience store on the corner, I instinctively walked in, thinking of buying a cup of hot milk, pushed open the door. Warm light and the aroma of food greeted me. The shop clerk was dozing off behind the counter. I tiptoed to the refrigerator and picked up a carton of milk, turned around to check out. My gaze casually swept over the seating area by the window. His footsteps came to an abrupt halt. He stood frozen in place, as if nailed to the spot. In the farthest corner by the window, sat a man, wearing a crumpled dark coat, with slightly disheveled hair and a stubble of blue-black beard on his chin. Before him sat a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. In his hand, he held a cheap, disposable plastic lighter. Click, click, click. The flame leaped up, its faint glow illuminating his exhausted face. Click, the flame went out, in the darkness. He slightly hunched his back, like a silent mountain on the verge of collapse. It's Bo Gu. Why is he here? And, in this state, the shop assistant was startled awake by my footsteps, rubbing his eyes as he sat up. Welcome, oh, it's you. He knows me, I come here often. Following my gaze, the assistant lowered his voice. That gentleman has been sitting there all night, just ordered one coffee, keeps fiddling with that lighter. Kinda creepy. I averted my eyes and walked to the counter. Handing over the milk, check out. The clerk scanned the code, 10 yuan. I paid, picked up the milk, turned around, ready to leave, didn't glance at the corner again. Just as I pushed open the glass door, letting the cold wind rush in, Behind me came the screeching sound of chair legs scraping against the floor, and a voice so hoarse it was almost shattered. Kira Shin. My hand on the doorknob froze. The icy metal sensation transmitted through my fingertips. I didn't look back. The night wind swirled with withered leaves in the empty street corner. The convenience store's light cast a long shadow behind me. Kira Shin. That voice sounded again, carrying a nearly humble plea, piercing through the store's warmth and background music, sharply penetrating my eardrums. Could you sit with me for a while? I gripped the cold door handle. The chill at my fingertips spread all the way to the depths of my heart. The gaze from behind was heavy, burning with despair, almost scorching 2 holes through my back. The shop assistant held his breath, his eyes darting between me and the corner, brimming with silent gossip. Time seemed to congeal in the thick, viscous darkness. A few seconds, or a century. I slowly released the door handle. The reflection in the glass door vaguely mirrors the scene in the corner behind me. Bo Ji-yu stood there, his body slightly unsteady, one hand propped on the table, his eyes fixed intently on my retreating figure. Like a dying beast in a trap, staring at its last lifeline, I turned around, slowly. Gaze fell upon him calmly. He seemed startled by my movement, his body tensing abruptly, a flash of incredulous joy flickering in his eyes before being drowned by deeper panic. Just for a moment, his voice was hoarse, carrying a cautious attempt, even a barely perceptible tremble. I walked to the seat opposite him, didn't sit down, watched him across a small plastic table. He was much thinner than I remembered. His eye sockets were sunken, cheekbones protruding, his complexion an unhealthy ashen gray, once sharp as an eagle's. His eyes were now bloodshot, brimming with exhaustion too thick to dissolve and a vulnerability bordering on collapse. His expensive overcoat was crumpled, stained with unidentified water marks. His fingers, gripping that cheap lighter with force, had turned pale at the knuckles. Sit, he looked at me almost pleadingly. I pulled out the plastic chair and sat down. The seat was cold. Bo Ji-yu seemed to let out a sigh of relief and sat down as well, his movements somewhat slow and stiff. He carefully placed the lighter on the table, as if setting down some fragile treasure. What would you like to drink? He asked. His voice still hoarse. Hot milk, or, no need, I interrupted. Just get to the point, President Ji-yu. The words President Ji-yu were like 2 icy needles, causing his body to sway slightly. He lowered his eyes, staring at the cheap wood grain on the table, his Adam's apple bobbing with difficulty. I have been looking for you for a long time, he spoke, his voice as low as a whisper. I remained silent. Jun Shu. He uttered the name as if chewing on a bitter piece of coptis. She's gone, I responded, acknowledging what he said. What she wanted was never me as a person. Bo Ji-yu raised his head, his eyes hollow as he gazed at the heavy night outside the window. It was everything I could give her: fame, status, vanity. She came back just because she couldn't make it abroad. She knew I couldn't let go of the past and used my guilt. He tugged at the corner of his mouth, forcing a smile uglier than tears. Kira-shin, you're right, I'm a fool, a blind and foolish fool. His voice grew lower, heavy with self-loathing. She took away part of the company's liquid assets, and some compromising material against me. The company is in complete chaos. The shareholders are making a fuss. The banks are pressing for debt repayment. He choked up, his hands painfully buried in his disheveled hair, his shoulders trembling slightly. I have nothing left. The convenience store was quiet, only the low hum of the freezer in operation. I watched him curl up helplessly in the plastic chair like a child, that man who once looked down on everything and controlled everything, now as fragile as a sheet of paper that could tear at the slightest touch. Yet, there was none of the anticipated satisfaction in my heart, nor any sympathy, only a desolate calm remained. Mr. Ji-yu, I spoke up, my voice unusually clear in the silent convenience store. What does any of this have to do with me? Bo Ji-yu suddenly raised his head. His bloodshot eyes were filled with shock and a kind of utterly shattered despair. Kira-shin, his lips trembled. I know I've wronged you. I know I've broken your heart. Now, I have nothing left. Only, he was like a drowning man, trying to grasp the last floating log. Only regret. These 5 years. I've been so terribly wrong. I shouldn't have treated you as a substitute, shouldn't have treated you that way, shouldn't have. Enough, I interrupted him calmly. He froze. Bo-Gu. I looked into his eyes. You're saying all this now because you've lost everything. It's because Junshu abandoned you. It's because you're at the end of your rope, not because you feel guilty toward Kirashin, nor is it because you suddenly realize you love me. Every word I spoke was like a small hammer striking his taut nerves. The color drained from his face bit by bit, and the light in his eyes dimmed gradually. Only an ashen silence remained. Your regret, I said softly, is too cheap. Cheaper than that check back then. I stood up. The plastic chair legs scraped against the floor, making a harsh sound. Mr. Gu. I picked up the box of warm milk on the table. Take care. With that, I turned around, without looking back at him, and walked toward the door. Kirashin. Behind me came his hoarse cry, filled with the last desperate struggle. I pushed open the glass door. The biting cold wind of late autumn instantly enveloped my entire body. The last remnants of stifling warmth from the convenience store behind me were completely swept away. I strode into the cold night. Not once did I look back. The convenience store behind me. The lights remain warm and bright. Inside the glass window, the man slumped into the plastic chair like a clay statue drained of all its soul. The cheap lighter on the table made a soft click sound. A faint flame flickered to life. In his hollow pupils, it cast the last wavering glimmer of light, then extinguished. The convenience store's automatic door opened and closed, completely isolating that shattered world inside. The cold wind lifted the fallen leaves from the ground. I tightened my coat and held onto that warm carton of milk, the warmth from fingertips, faint yet real, like a tiny light of my own in this long, harsh winter. I raise my head. Against the deep blue night sky, a few scattered stars twinkle, chilly, distant, yet eternal and unchanging. I take a step forward. The figure merges into the sparse late-night city crowd, walking toward the depths of fading lights, walking toward what belongs to me, the dawn.